Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Om Vishnu Paramahams Prabhupada Stottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda Ki BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we are reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Madhya chapter 1, starting off at text 36, and we're moving along to text 41. Now there's been a bit of a misunderstanding about all this. I have to explain for the sake of the other speakers who are coming after me, but Sriman Garudaji last week omitted to chant his portion of the sloka, so everything's scheduled. So the rule of thumb is that even if we're talking about the feast day of a great saint or whatever, we still chant the slokas and read the purports, so we keep the continuity going. So I was told that Garuda Prabhu didn't do that, so we have to go back to his slokas, and there happens to be a 3-page purport in text 41, so strap yourselves in. I was scheduled to do text 42 and 43, and there's another 3-page purport to text 43, so I don't think I myself have trouble getting through the 3 pages. The first one, I don't think any of us will make it through 6 pages of solid Caitanya Caritamrita philosophy here, particularly when we have so many names like Vidgata Madhava and Ujjvala Nilamani and Lalita Madhava. What do you think of that? It's like pretty good, hey? So anyway, we'll chant text 36. Ei Sabhagranta Kaila Gosani Sanatana Rupa Gosani Kailayata Ke Karuganana Ei Sabhagranta Kaila Gosani Sanatan Rupa Gosani Kailayata Ke Karugarana Ei Sabhagranta Kaila Gosani Sanatan Rupa Gosani Kailayata Ke Karugana Ei Sabha. All these Granta, scriptures, Kaila, compiled, Gosani, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Gosani, Rupa Goswami, Kaila, did, Yata, all, K, U, Karu Ganana, can count. Translation. We have already given the names of 4 books compiled by Sanatan Goswami. Similarly, Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, has also compiled many books which no one even can count. Text 37. I shall therefore enumerate the chief books compiled by Sri Rupa Goswami. He has described the pastimes of Vrindavan in thousands of verses. Text 38. Books compiled by Sri Rupa Goswami include Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What do we know that as? Anyone here? Not the back stalls. I know the back stalls are all very knowledgeable. Anyone in the front stalls? Thank you so much, Noah. Beautiful. Nectar of Devotion. Big Dada Madhava, Ujjvala Nilamani, and Lalita Madhava, text 39 and 40. Sri Rupa Goswami also compiled Danakeli, Kamoda, Stavavali, Lila, Chanda, Padyavali, Govinda, Virudavali, Mathura, Mahatmya, and Natakavarnana. So I could just say at this point in time there's no purport to that. Our revered sannyasi devotee whom we love so much, His Holiness Banu Maharaj, has translated all the books by the Goswamis. So at this stage I think he's up to 125 books, and he's based in Chennai, and Bharat and myself went to visit him in Chennai, and he had his books on the table, and it looked spectacular. It's a whole table full of books that have been written by the Goswamis there. So that's available for devotees after they finish reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya, Caritamrita, and they want to delve a little bit more into the pastimes of Krishna and his Leelas. They're freely available. So, text 41. Who can count the rest of the books headed by Laghu Bhagavatamrita, written by Srila Rupa Goswami? He has described the pastimes of Vrindavan in all of them. So now we begin the purport. So see how far you can go with the purport. I'll read it all through. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has given a description of these books. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a great book of instruction on how to develop devotional service to the Lord and follow the transcendental process. It was finished in the year 1463 Sakabda. What's that in our years? Money, do you know? Thank you so much. Beautiful. All right. The book is divided into 4 parts. Purva Vibhaga, Eastern Division, Dakshini Vibhaga, Southern Division, Paschima Vibhaga, Western Division, and Uttara Vibhaga, Northern Division. In the Purva Vibhaga, there is a description of the permanent development of devotional service, the general principle of devotional service, the execution devotional service, ecstasy in devotional service, and ultimately the attainment of love of Godhead. Described in this way, there are 4 Laharis, waves in this division of the ocean of the nectar of devotion. So who's picked up the nectar of devotion and read some of it? Anybody here? Anybody seen it? It is available. It's one of the first books sometimes that we read because it's very condensed, as you can see. In the Dakshina Vibhaga, Southern Division, there is a general description of the mellow relationship called Bhakti Rasa, which is derived from devotional service. There are also descriptions of the stages known as Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, Vyabhachari, and Sthayibhava, all on this high platform of devotional service. Thus, there are 5 waves in the Dakshina Vibhaga division. In the Western division, there is Paschima Vibhaga, there is description of the chief transcendental humours derived from devotional service. These are known as Mukhya Bhakti Rasa Nirupana, or attainment of the chief humours or feelings in the execution of devotional service. So the word humour is actually, there's a lot of explanations on how we can use humour. Usually, as we know, humour that is something that is very humorous or funny, causes laugh. But humour in this particular case is a particular experience that you have in a certain type of situation. So, whether it's a pleasant relationship or an unpleasant relationship or a relationship in separation, there's certain feelings that are evoked within ourselves, and these are called humours, right? So this is being discussed. In that part, there is a description of devotional service in neutrality, further development in love and affection, called servitude, further development in fraternity. You know what fraternity means? Friendship, like brotherhoods and, Further development in paternity, parental or paternal love, and finally conjugal love between Krishna and his devotees. Thus there are 5 waves in the Western division. So we're up to the northern division, Uttara Vibhaga. There is description of the indirect mellows of devotional service, namely devotional service in laughter, devotional service in wonder, and devotional service in chivalry, pity, anger, dread, and ghastliness. So once again, mellow, that's the sort of like in English, what we understand mellow as being something very mild. Oh, that's very mellow, it's very smooth. But actually in this context, mellow is that feeling. So these feelings that describe chivalry, pity, anger, dread. So the different expressions of one's self. So that's called a mellow. There are also mixings of mellows and a transgression of different humours. So we have mellows and humours, okay? This is all tied up in devotional service and our feelings we have. So these feelings come out through the process of following the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, of Bhakti Yoga, that this evokes certain aspects of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's the connection. Thus there are 9 waves in this part, but this is a brief outline of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So that's Nectar of Devotion. The Vigdada Madhava is a drama of Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Sri Rupa Goswami finished this book in the year 1454 Sakabda. So that's 9 years before he finished the Nectar of Devotion. So that means, it's very important because that means he finished that while Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was still on the planet, right? And anybody read the Vigdada Madhava? Sort of, maybe. The first part of this drama is called Venu Nada Vilas. The second part is Manmata Leka. The third part is Radha Sangha. The fourth part, Venu Hara. And the fifth part is Radha Prasadana. Sixth part is Sarad Vihara. And the seventh, the last part, Gauri Vihari. It's just suspicious to hear these names. There is also a book called Ujjvala Nilamani, a transcendental account of loving affairs that includes metaphor, analogy, and higher bhakti sentiments. Devotional service and conjugal love is described briefly in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but it is very elaborately discussed in Ujjvala Nilamani. The book describes different types of lovers, their assistants, and those who are very dear to Krishna. There's also a description of Srimati Radharani and other female lovers, as well as various group leaders, messengers and constant associates, as well as others who are very dear to Krishna, are all described. The book also relates how the love of Krishna is awakened. Love of Krishna is awakened describes the ecstatic situation, the devotional situation, permanent ecstasy, disturbed ecstasy, steady ecstasy, different positions of different dresses, feelings of separation, prior attraction, anger and attraction, varieties of loving affairs, separation from the beloved, meeting with the beloved, and both direct and indirect enjoyment between the lover and the beloved. All this has been very elaborately described. So we can sum this up as the science of self-realization, the highest level. Similarly, Lalita Madhava is description of Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. His pastimes were made into a drama, and the work was finished in 1459 Sakabda. Okay, the first part deals with festivities in the evening, the second with the killing of Sankachuda, third with Mad and Srimati Radharani, and the fourth with Radharani's proceeding toward Krishna, the fifth with achieving of Chandravali, with the achievement of Chandravali, the sixth with the achievement of Lalita, seventh with the meeting in Nava Vrindavan, the eighth with the enjoyment in Nava Vrindavan, ninth looking over the pictures, and the 10th complete satisfaction of the mind. Thus the entire drama is performed in 10 parts. That's the drama that was written by Rupa Goswami. So this is all about Rupa Goswami, one of the intimate associates of Lord Caitanya, and we're 2/3 of the way through. Just got one page to go. Okay? So, Laghu Bhagavatamrita is described into 2 parts. I had the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, may I say at this point in time, I lent it to someone, I can't remember who, so if you know anyone who's got it, please give it back. The first is called the Nectar of Krishna, and the second, the Nectar of Devotional Service. The importance of Vedic evidence is stressed in the first part, and this is followed by a description of the original form and Supreme Personality of Godhead as Sri Krishna, and descriptions of his pastimes and expansions in Swamsa, personal forms. Swamsa means personal forms, and Vibhinamsa. And what would that mean? Can anybody help me out with that one? Doesn't say here. Vibhinamsa. Swamsa's personal forms, Vibhu, different Vibhu, different other forms. Okay, according to different absorptions, the incarnations are called Avesha and Tadikatma. First incarnation is divided into 3 Purusha avatars, namely Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kiryadakshay Vishnu. So this is some basics here. There are 3 incarnations of the modes of nature, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, Shiva. All the paraphernalia used in the service of the Lord is transcendental beyond the 3 qualities of the material world. There is also a description of the 25 Leela avatars, namely Chatusana. Chatu means 4 Kumaras. Narad, Varaha, Matsya, Yagya, Naranarayan, Rishi, Kapila, Dattatreya, Hayagriva, Hamsa, Prishtigarbha, Risha, Prithu, Nishrima, Kurma, Dhanvantari, Mohini, Vamana, Purushama, Dasarati, Krishna, Dvaipyana, Balaram, Vasudev, Buddha, and Kalki. There are also 14 incarnations of Manu, Jagya, Vibhu, Satyasena, Hari, Vaikuntha, Jita, Vamana, Sarvabhauma, Rishabh, Vishvaksena, Dharmatsu, Sudama, Yogeshwara, and Brihad Bhanu. There are also 4 incarnations for the 4 yugas. Their colours are described as white, red, blackish, and black, sometimes yellow, as in the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are different types of millenniums and incarnations for those millenniums. The categories called Avesh, Prabhava, Vabhava, and Para constitute different situations for different incarnations. According to specific pastimes, the names are spiritually empowered. There are also descriptions of the difference between the powerful and the power and the inconceivable activities of the Lord. On to the last paragraph on the home straight. Sri Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one is greater than him. He is the source of incarnations. It's like, what's that verse? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Nadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. It's a verse from the Brahma Samhita. Is that right? In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there are description of his partial incarnations, a description of the impersonal Brahman effulgence, actually the body effulgence of Sri Krishna, the super excellence of Sri Krishna's pastimes as an ordinary human being with 2 hands, and so forth. There's that, an ordinary human being with 2 hands. So if you go somewhere else, you see human beings with 4 hands, don't be alarmed. Okay, still human beings. There is nothing to compare with the 2-armed form of the Lord. In the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Jagat, there is no distinction between the owner of the body and the body itself. It's in the spiritual world. In the material world, the owner of the body is called the soul, and the body is called the material manifestation. In the Vaikuntha world, however, there is no such distinction. Lord Sri Krishna is unborn, and his appearance as an incarnation is perpetual. Krishna's pastimes are divided into two parts, manifest and unmanifest. For example, when Krishna takes his birth within this material world, his pastimes are considered to be manifest. However, when he disappears, one should not think he's finished, for his pastimes are going on in an unmanifest form. Varieties of humours, however, are enjoyed by the devotees of Lord Krishna during his manifest pastimes. After all, his pastimes in Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka are eternal and going on perpetually somewhere in some part of the universe. Unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Padakabalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master and under the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, Sri Jiva Goswami. Just for your information here, these gentlemen sitting in the front, if you probably know this, but on the right-hand side, the picture on the right-hand side, on one side we have the Pancha Tattva, different aspects of Lord Caitanya, and then we have the 6 Goswamis. So this is what we're talking about. Rupa and Sanatan are like they're the prime Goswamis. And the Goswamis were the forefathers of our Hare Krishna movement as we know it now. So sometimes we are known as the Rupanugas, the ones who follow in the footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami. So this is whom we're talking about today. All these verses about Rupa, how he wrote all these books in Vrindavan. So I think we've had enough philosophy in those pages there. So much there unwrapped by Srila Prabhupada. So today I would like to just talk about just Lord Caitanya, because in his, this is the Madhya Leela, so we did the Adi Leela, that's his beginning. Madhya Leela is when he took sannyas, and straight after he took sannyas he went to Jagannath Puri. So then, not only did he went there for 2 purposes. So one purpose was to deepen his understanding and love in his form as Radha and her attraction for Krishna, her love for Krishna, but also he came to fulfill the other mission of introducing the yajna, the sacrifice for this age, which is Harinam Sankirtan. So, as it says, Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sangapangastra Parasadam, Jagne Sankirtana Praya, Yajanti Hi Sumedasa, that in this age of Kali, so we know Kali is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear in his form and engage in the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord in this age of Kali. And he appears as Krishna, but he's not blackish, but he's golden. So that's this form as Lord Caitanya, because he comes in the form of devotee. He's Chanda avatar, he's the hidden incarnation. That's why he never refers to himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he comes as a devotee. And he comes with his associates, and they begin this whole process of chanting. And the end goal, as we know, is Prativite Chetato Nadaharigram Sarva Prachabi Hoibi More Nam, that Prativite, every town and village the chanting of the holy names will be heard. So Lord Caitanya, in his early years, he was known as Vishvambara, and he began this process of chanting the holy name of Krishna throughout Bengal, and he attracted thousands, countless numbers of devotees to chant Krishna's names and perform congregational chanting. But it still wasn't enough because other people were dodging the net. So we've just been reading about this in the last couple of months, dodging his net, because the students were seeing that material aspect of Lord Caitanya, that he's beautiful, he has long hair, he has all the wealth he wants, he has beautiful women. Hey, he's got time to chant there. That's just, we don't see him studying jnana, we don't see him studying the Shastras. And of course, Lord Caitanya was saying to these people, actually, the goal of all the Shastras, Vedanta Krideva Vida Hameva Vidyam, is to know Krishna, is the goal of everything. So every time Lord Caitanya, even though he was the foremost scholar in the whole of India, every time he began to elaborate on some Shastra, he would come to the conclusion every word went back to Krishna as the fundamental base of self-realization. So then he took sannyas. So as a sannyasi, he went to Jagannath Puri, and in Jagannath Puri, he established that as a base to spread his whole mission around the world. So this was it, Prativate Chaitata, to every town village, not only in India, but around the whole world. So when he got there, I would just like to explain a little bit about how the mission unfolded. So he went to Jagannath Puri with his devotees. I always wanted to talk about his trip. I don't have much time, actually. I've got a few pages here, but on his way he had taken sannyas from Keshava Bharati, who was from the Mayavadi school. He was like, the Mayavadis, it's all one, so philosophy, the Mayavadi philosophy, but still, I don't know the extent of the, self-realization of Keshava Bharati, but Lord Caitanya, he was given the name Caitanya, and he had a danda, but it wasn't a tree danda, it was just one stick. And this really used to annoy Lord Nityananda. That was one reason, that it was just the ekadanda. And the other thing was that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was carrying a stick to observe his vows of chastity, poverty. What's the other vow for a sannyasi? Obedience? Yeah, I'll take that. Okay, so he got so annoyed that one time Lord Caitanya asked him, he asked him to look after his staff while he took a bath in the river, in the Ganges. And Nityananda was so sort of like worked up about the staff that he broke it in 3 places. Now, this is the bamboo staff. I don't know if you ever tried to break bamboo into 3, but it's quite a mission there, because bamboo is quite strong. He broke it into 3 and threw it in the river. And Lord Caitanya comes back and he goes, "Where's my staff?" "Oh, we were dancing and I fell on it and it broke." Right? So Lord Caitanya took this, but then he went to Jagannath Puri, and of course he didn't have any more stuff. He didn't actually need it. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then he told Lord Nityananda to go back to Bengal. So Lord Nityananda was his brother from another mother, as we say. He was Lord Balaram. So when they found each other 4 years before, when Balaram came to Navadvip, they were inseparable. They were sharing the ecstasy of the love of Krishna. They were fainting, they were jumping high in the air, they were exhibiting so many symptoms of love of Godhead together for 4 years. So then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Now I'm in Jagannath Puri, you have to go back and spread this Krishna consciousness movement in Bengal." So this was the first part of the plan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that almost immediately Lord Nityananda had to return there, even though it meant that he no longer had the association of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Nityananda to the masses, he's the ray of mercy that actually, it's said that if we really want to approach Lord Chaitanya, we want to approach Krishna, we go through Lord Nityananda. And he's described as being very, very merciful. And Lord Nityananda is as cooling as the rays of a million moons. So he is always immersed in Krishna's pastimes and his chanting the holy names of Krishna. So every time Lord Nityananda would chant, he would immerse everybody in ecstatic dancing and chanting, and they would chant and dance and chant and dance. And they would forget to eat, they would forget to sleep, they would forget to drink. They would be in so much ecstasy. And Lord Nityananda, he had these special friends. They were cowherd friends. Many of them had shared their pastimes with him. It's Lord Balaram and Krishna Leela. So they would go to all the different towns and villages in Bengal, and they would dress up as cowherd boys. And they'd have sticks, and they'd be twirling sticks in the air, and they'd be so ecstatic, some climbing up a tree. And so Lord Nityananda would be dressed opulently. He looked like Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he was. So this was his Leela. So he was spreading Krishna consciousness. That was his purpose. So Lord Chaitanya sent him back to Bengal to do that, instructed him to marry. So he married two daughters from a very pious family. The Brahmin was called Surita Sarakela. There was a pastime about how when Lord Nityananda asked for his daughters in marriage, he was inclined to say no because he didn't have any dowry. Usually in those days they have to give some dowry, and some compromise was made. I forget what it was. I know Krishna Kirtan knows the story. But so anyway, that's sort of, we have to move on. So one of his wives was Janavamata and the other was Nanda Manjari. So Janavamata became very famous actually. So she was a part of this whole plan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after both Nityananda and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the planet, Janavamata stayed and she became like the guru of Bengal. She was prolific and she was initiating devotees. They had one very famous son whose name was, anyone know? Virabhadra. And he's said to be the incarnation of Ananta Shesha, is that right? Chiradaksha Vishnu. Okay, so he's an incarnation, and he was very, very powerful. And from then, the mission started to unfold there in West Bengal. And of course, Janavamata, she was there at the first ISKCON, or the first devotee festival. I won't say ISKCON, but the first Mela, the first devotee festival that was ever held in India, where devotees from all over India, from Uttar Pradesh, from Vrindavan, from Bengal, from the southern India, they all came and they celebrated Krishna's names. So this was organised by Narottam Das Thakur, and that's another part of Lord Chaitanya's plan which unfolded. So now we come to Rupa and Sanatan. So these two great souls who became Goswamis in the beginning, there is so much elaborate history about them. I can only sort of give you a couple of lines. But Rupa, when they were young, they were very, very astute scholars and great devotees. They were sons of brahmanas. And Rupa spoke 7 languages. He spoke Sanskrit, Persian, Bengali, 4 other languages. And he was so great at all this that the Sultan, the Nawab, so this is under Islamic rule, the Mohammedans, Islamic rule. So the Sultan noticed Rupa and he got both Rupa and Sanatan into his ministry. And Sanatan became the treasurer and Rupa was his general manager, you might say. And both of them became fabulously wealthy within a short space of time, and they were famous and everybody heard of them. But fact that they're working for the Sultan, they got ostracized by the Vaishnava or the Brahmana community, not so much the Vaishnava community, but the Brahmana community, and they no longer were considered to be as Hindus. But they had this burning desire when they heard about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu that evoked something within their heart. And of course we understand this because in his past life, Rupa was said to be Rupa Manjari, one of the intimate gopis, that's one of the intimate Manjaris that served the higher gopis there. So he awakened his love for Lord Chaitanya, and he was wanting to have an opportunity to associate with Lord Chaitanya. And he couldn't because he was trapped. He was like in this situation that he couldn't get out. But at one time they were able to meet Lord Chaitanya, and strangely enough it was at Prayag. That's where they're having the Kumbh Mela right now, one every 144 years. And I sort of went back, I multiplied by 3 and I got to multiply by 4 and I got to 576, and I subtracted it from 2024 but it didn't add up, so it wasn't a 144-year mailer that he met him, but it was a mailer probably. So he met him there in a certain place at a certain gut, Danu Sadhana gut. They approached, actually, I'm ahead of myself. That's where Rupa got instruction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he wasn't there. It was Ramakela in West Bengal. They approached Lord Chaitanya with straw in their mouth. Now, they're scholars, got 7 languages, they're in the Nawabs, they're like billionaires, and both of them got down on their knees with a straw in their mouth and approached Lord Chaitanya in all humility and say, please teach us because we know nothing. Right? So Lord Chaitanya was very pleased. He told them to go back into the service and wait for the right time. And with great difficulty, they were able to free themselves from the clutches of Sultan, and Rupa was able to join up with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then, this was in 1517, so this is shortly after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, maybe 3 or 4 years. So Lord Chaitanya gave Rupa 4 instructions, right? He told him to go to Vrindavan, uncover Sri Krishna's lost pastimes, where the places where he had his pastimes, to install deities and start the process of deity worship, and write Bhakti Shastris. So we heard about the nectar of devotion, of course, and propagate the rules of Bhakti Yoga. So we're Rupanugas, we're following in the footsteps. Everything we know comes from Rupa down through disciplic succession. And Sanatan, of course. So it's said that wearing only copins, copins are the 2 cloths that you wear as underwear, and patchwork quilt, leading a mendicant's life, Rupa wrote practical yet profound transcendental books, some of which are summarised in this purport that Srila Prabhupada was talking about. So the Nectar of Devotion. So I remember when I was sitting there as Bhakta Bruce, listening to discussions of Nectar of Devotion, I tried to remember some things about the Nectar of Devotion. And the thing that stuck in my mind was that you weren't allowed to take a conveyance into the temple. I don't know why that stuck, but I do remember some guy coming up here, the gate wasn't there, he drove up in his Holden and he parked right there, and I said, yes, can I help you? He said, yeah, I've come to see the man. I said, well, Krishna's the man, he is the supreme person, that's who I want to see, right? So we escort him back down there and told him to sort of maybe approach with a straw in his mouth, and then he might get some darshan. But anyway, it goes to show that every time you read the Nectar of Devotion, you get something else that comes out of it. So it's so packed. So the more realization that you have, the more that it actually starts to unfold, and you start to comprehend more about seva and devotional service and the process of, through the process of hearing chanting. This is a process, the hearing and the chanting, and then the realization, it all comes together. So it's always good to sort of pick up a nectar of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Even if you don't start at the beginning, you can read anywhere. There is so much in there. So, so Rupa Goswami, he went back to Jagannath Puri. So this before he wrote the Nectar of Devotion. So he went to Vrindavan, stayed there for a while, and then he met up with the Lord again. Then they went to Prayag, and the Lord instructed him for 10 days solid about the process, the whole process, the science of self-realization. So he instructed him on 3 things. The first of all was, Prabhupada described this in the purport, he instructed him on Krishna Tattva. That's all about Krishna's different incarnations, the creation. Then the Bhakti Tattva, which is the process, the devotional service. And then Parakya Rasa, about Krishna's intimate pastimes with the gopis. That's the conjugal, highest loving devotional service that one can reach in his relationship with the Supreme Lord. So Rupa is now understood to be the foremost authority on the pastimes of Krishna and the loving service of the gopis. So that he has that title. Just as I've only got 3 minutes to go, but I was really sort of, sometimes you understand our being here, we're worshipping Radha Govardhan Dari, and Krishna's lifting the Govardhan hill to protect the citizens of Vrindavan, all the gopis and the cowherd boys and everything. And he's only young, he hadn't even performed the pastimes with the gopis yet. He hadn't engaged in all these rasas. King Indra's trying to wipe him out. So that's a humour that you sort of look at it like King Indra. He was, he tried to preempt all this purpose behind Sri Krishna trying to establish this love that we can feel here through Lord Caitanya and Rupa Goswami about, in our emotion expression for Krishna. So Rupa Goswami, as I said, he was the Manjari. So just quickly, I'll keep going here. I've got a few paragraphs left. If you want to go to breakfast, that's fine. But there was the 8 principal gopi friends of Krishna. Of course, Radharani was the head. And there were 16,100 other gopis, which is described in Krishna Sangita, which was written by Shivaram Maharaj, and it's taken from the Garga Samhita. And the Manjaris, the gopis, so this is, I want to describe, this is the eternal age of the gopis, that they're 14 years old. And the Manjaris, they're the servants of the gopis. They're like 11, 12, 13 years old. They serve the gopis. So Rupa Goswami, he was a Manjari, and he was said to be 13 years, 6 months old, and he served Lalita, one of the intimate gopis of Krishna. So this is their eternal forms. But when they're in the material world, they also reach their form very quickly. So sometimes we, in our material consciousness, see kids that are growing up, and they're 5 years old, they're this big, and they're 6 years old, they're this big. But that didn't necessarily apply to Krishna and all the residents of Vrindavan. As they grew up, they matured very, very quickly. Because as we know, when Krishna was 5 years old, he got to look after all the cows. Now we can't, I can't imagine my 5-year-old grandson with a stick sort of taking all the bulls and all the cows out, huge cows, come on, So they grew up very quickly, and they matured very quickly. So by the time Krishna was 7, 8, 9, he was performing, he was having, amorous pastimes with the gopis. They were fully matured. And this is, although close to being fully matured, this is confirmed. Indradumna Maharaj was speaking about this, and he was speaking in Dwarka Leela about Krishna's grandson, one of his sons, Pradyumna. And Pradyumna was only 10 years old, and then when Krishna and all the residents went to Kurukshetra for pilgrimage, Pradyumna was given charge of the whole of Dwarka. He was in charge of all the armies, this 10-year-old, right? Boy. But, as we can see, that Indra Maharaj said he was a lot bigger than a 10-year-old boy as we know it. He was already mature, right? And of course he had his hands full because he got attacked by Salva. So that was another Leela. So that's just interesting. And when Rupa went to Vrindavan, he would sleep under a tree, different tree every night, and some sleep under kalpa-vriksha trees, which were desire trees, and that would reveal the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis in that particular spot. And he'd write these books down, and they went to special places where they would write things. And if it was raining, it is said that actually the rain wouldn't touch their script because they were just pen and ink on palm leaf. And they used to write in kadamba groves. And sometimes the kadamba trees, when Rupa was writing about the separation of, the emotional separation of the gopis away from Krishna, then the kadamba trees would lose their leaves, right? And then when he spoke about the reunification and the joy of Krishna and the gopis, they would grow new leaves and all these flowers would blossom for the trees. So there was said that the pangs of separation, the leaves would fall off like tears running down one's face. So the trees would become ecstatic. So this is how we worship Rupa Goswami, that he's given us so much. We just got a song by Narottam Das, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, say more some Pada, say more Braja. Actually, the typewriter went crazy. Lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari, my only wealth, they object my service and worship. So we're Rupa Nugas, right? And then further on, Rupa stayed in the Radha. I'll just go to Srila Prabhupada now very quickly. Rupa stayed in the Radha Damodar temple, which was founded by his brother, beautiful Radha Damodar deities. No, which Radha Govinda. So the Radha Damodar, they were ancient deities that were cast by Rajnava just after Krishna left, and they got rediscovered, and there's a beautiful temple, the Radha Damodar temple, and he organised everything. He organised this whole Sankirtan mission to go around preaching in India, and he wrote these books, and these books were so ecstatic. In fact, there were so many books that some books were placed in a vault. I don't know if you go to Vrindavan, if you've been to Vrindavan, next to Sanatan Goswami's temple, Radha Vardhan Mohan, there's a big vault there that you can see with books that are sort of put in there that aren't to be opened till some other point in time, said, where people can understand more about the process of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada also stayed in the Radha Govinda temple, and he said that actually Rupa Goswami appeared to him in a dream. Not while he was staying there, he was staying at Vamsighat, and then Srila Rupa appeared to him next to his tomb, right? And next to his samadhi, which is there in the Radha Damodar temple. And Srila Prabhupada, he was smiling at him, so he knew he had the mercy of Rupa Goswami. So he went to Radha Damodar temple, and he started to write the Srimad Bhagavatam in English under the instruction of his spiritual master. There was one very important point there. Indra Maharaj was saying that our friend Guru Das, who was here a few years ago, who was an intimate associate of Srila Prabhupada, he stayed at Radha Damodar temple with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada told him one day, they said while he was writing, he had a dream, and Rupa Goswami appeared to him in his dream, and he said, don't dilly-dally any longer, just you've translated these books, now go to the West and start preaching. So that confirmed his order by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and so then he proceeded to come to the West and to spread the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. So this is just part of Lord Chaitanya's plan, right? So this is just an extension, of course. I can't run out of time what to speak of the other slokas. So the next sloka is about Jiva Goswami, which is also, these are two prolific Goswamis, Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami. I mean, there is so much knowledge and wealth that comes from them. So we can speak about them for days. But then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had Raghunath Das come, and Raghunath Das also renounced his wealth. And after he passed away, Raghunath Das went to Vrindavan, and he'd learned everything about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Jagannath Puri from Swarup Damodar. And from there we have this Caitanya Charitamrita, so that's what we're studying right now. And then Jiva Goswami, he was the nephew of Rupa and Sanatan. He was the last Goswami, and he established the whole, solidified Vrindavan. He established titles for the temples and everything, so Vrindavan would stay intact. And somehow or other, this philosophy has just kept going. So we're Rupanugas, so with shaved heads, dancing like Prabhupada said, we are Rupanugas, Krishna Kirtana Ganana Danaparo, that dancing like madmen, jumping up and down, shaved heads, tilak, dhotis, lovely to see. Prabhupada said that prashita, very lovely to see that we're following in this process, and we're a part of this process, just like Krishna said to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, time, all these sort of, time has already destroyed these armies, my plan has been put into effect, but you can actually implement this if you like and take the credit for this. It's up to you, but it's already going to happen anyway, because Arjuna's thinking, why not fight with my relatives? It's already happened. So with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this has already happened also, that this process of Krishna consciousness is going to become the predominant way of self-realization in this age of Kali, that will actually be just like they say in the dollar bill, in God we trust. So we will have in our coins, in Krishna we trust. So Krishna will be the predominating deity in the whole of Kali Yuga. And the Sankirtan process is a very wonderful opportunity. It's like a portal that we have to get back to the spiritual world. Normally it's not available in Kali Yuga, but here, just after Lord Chaitanya, we're engaging in the Sankirtan movement. It goes straight back to the spiritual world. That wasn't even possible in all the other ages. So this is in the footsteps of these great souls. So we've read 3 pages of, the glories of Rupa Goswami. So it's very nice to understand who our great descendants are. Thank you. Try to get all in. Shall I? All glories to Srila Prabhupada.